Greetings, chess fans. Today in Biel, Switzerland concluded yet another event of the 58th International Biel Chess Festival, and I'm talking about the Blitz event. So the entire Biel Congress Center was all about Blitz. So Blitz was played in the open section and also, of course, the main event, the Masters and Challengers Triathlon, because we needed to find out who is going to qualify for the final stage or the top four. So the action was really dramatic, and we couldn't have written a better script because before the final round, the race was wide open. Who's going to make it? And in the Masters section, that was the game of Radoslav Wojtaszek with the white collar against Voldar Merzen, because for Wojtaszek it was enough just to make a draw to make it to the top four, and for Merzen he desperately needed the victory. And that's why I've selected this game to be the game of the day, even though there were so many exciting games to follow. Anyway, so here we go. The game opened up with d4, knight of 6 on c4. Again, remember, Wojtaszek with the white collar, it's just good enough to finish the game in a draw, and Merzen desperately needs to complicate matters. So he opened up with g6, knight of 3, g3, and b6, the so-called double fianchetto variation. After bishop g2, bishop b7, queen c2. Here, the first move, bishop e4, was an attack against the queen. White played queen d2, bishop b7. And while we're doing the coverage, to be honest, I was a bit surprised that Wojtaszek did not repeat the position with queen c2, because, again, for white, the repetition of the position is good enough. However, the Polish Grandmaster stayed true to his playing style and continued like nothing happened. He played show castle, castles, and b3. Black continued with a5, knight c3, knight e4, a very common maneuver, mainly for the queen's Indian defense, but of course also for the double fianchetto. There was a trade on e4, bishop e2, d6, the knight is heading to d7, d5 was played, bishop takes on f3. So, as you can see, the engine says that bishop takes on f3 is a mistake, but again, we have to take into account that Merzen desperately needed the victory, and I think he was going for some imbalances, which is the knight against the bishop in the long run. And as you're going to see, this turned out to be a critical choice. White played e takes on f3 with an idea to apply some pressure against the pawn on e7. After knight e7, there was a trade on g7. White played queen c3, rook e1 with a very simple plan to double the rooks at e file. Black played rook e8, rook a3, queen d7, f4. And black was struggling to organize a counterplay. So he played king f8, which was part of a larger plan. Merzen wanted to play knight g8, queen f5, and queen f6. But again, this is just a blitz game. It's very difficult for the players to be accurate. White played a4, sealing the deal and closing the queen side for good. Black played queen f5, rook e1, knight g8, h4. As you can see, Wojtaszek was having a pretty fantastic position, and it was Merzen who needed to find a way to find a game. Black played queen f6, white rejected the queen trade, rook d8, bishop h3, h5. And at some point we're wondering, so where exactly is Merzen's plan to have a counterplay? He played knight h6, queen e2, knight g8. I think this was a pretty smart choice, just to shuffle the pieces here and there and see what white's going to do. And here, probably the simplest move that Wojtaszek could have done is just do nothing. Like play rook e4, rook e3, because black has problems to organize a counterplay. e6 is heavily contested. There's no breaks in this position. And again, the tournament situation allows white to have a draw. However, the Polish Grandmaster decided to be ambitious, and after queen g7 played f5, which engine says it's a great move. But here, a tragedy struck the Polish Grandmaster. He did not notice that black has the pawn on h5 under attack. If he would have played queen takes on h5 here, winning a pawn, after knight f6, queen takes on g5, knight takes on e4, white has a fantastic position, but of course the game continues. Now instead here, automatically grabbed the pawn, and after queen takes on g5, suddenly Merzen was fighting back. White played king h2, allowing black to play knight f6, and another problem, because white gonna play rook takes on e7, feels like a free pawn, but there's a knight g4 check, intermezzo check, and the rook on e7 is lost. That's why here Wojtaszek played rook e3, retreating, but now if we could definitely feel the pace of the game, Merzen was fighting back. After rook f3, rook h8, black already was hitting towards the h4 move, and for Wojciech it was pretty difficult to find the correct plan. So he played rook f4, h4, rook g1, king f8. Again, the king goes to the f8 square. And starting from this moment, Merzin, the reigning world rapid champion, had come up with a pretty impressive plan. He wanted to play king e8, king d7, and then focus for a king's attack. The Polish Grandmaster did not find anything strong against it, so he attempted to trade the queens. Merzin said no. Queen e3, king e8, rook f3, king d7, and finally he did get the queens off the board. But now in this position, the black knight on f6 already appears to be much stronger than white's bishop on h3. Couple of moves later, black rearranged again the pieces and put the king on e8. And after rook h8, bishop g2, king f8, here came the critical mistake. Rook g3, knight e4, and black won the exchange. So the idea is that the rook on g3 is under attack, and there's a very basic fork. White played here, Merzin collected the exchange, and the rest was pretty much easy technique for the young talent. f6 was the final shot for the Polish Grandmaster, with the idea that f takes on e7 doesn't really work because rook g8 and black wins. So this was just one of the games that were ongoing in the final round. Of course, also in the Challengers tournament, there's a very, very tense situation. But now let's check the current standings after the Blitz tournament, because now we know who are the 4 players who made it to the final 4. In the Masters tournament, it's a shared lead. Saleh Salem leads the tournament together with Vladimir Fedoseev, 23 points each. Aravind is within the striking distance, 1.5 points. And Volodar, he did make it to the final 4 with 16.5 points. But of course, it's going to be very difficult for him to catch up with the leaders, even though there's 3 more classical games to be played, and every game is going to be worth 4 points. In the meantime, in the Challengers, Niklas Theodorov kept his lead, but Aram Jacobian managed to decrease the lead to 2.5 points. Rinat Jumabayev finished the tournament in the shared 3rd or 4th place together with David Navarra. Incidentally, they played the final round against each other. It was a longer game, but it finished in a draw. In the meantime, Makun finished in the 5th place, being half a point behind the leaders. And Daniel Darda, he did start his comeback, trying to catch up with the leaders. Unfortunately for him and the Belgian fans, the finish was not what he was looking for. So it was really amazing action here in the Biel Congress Center. You could feel the atmosphere is pretty electric, and of course today everybody also celebrates the International Chess Day. So once again, I'm congratulating every single chess fan with this amazing day. And the action is going to resume after the rest day. Tomorrow there is no action in the GMT Masters and Challenges, but of course every other event here in the Biel Congress Center continues. The broadcast is going to be back in 2 days. So if you want to see us in action live, tune in 2 days at 2 p.m. Central European Summer Time, because the action once again is come back with the final 4 classical games. So thank you for watching. Stay tuned.